for being online and for joining this call. Yeah, so I think we have a few more people joined. I see that another at least the count has increased to double. So that's a good news to start with this session. So the next 45 minutes to 1 hour, what we're going to cover is about how do we lead agile transformation in a large scale enterprise. For example, I'm sure most of you have already done agile in your small organizations, but we have not probably experienced in a large scale enterprise, right? So what we're going to cover today is about to see how do we do this agile transformation in a large scale enterprise. So let me just move on to my next slide. Okay, so my name is Jay Prakash Pravakar. You can call me JP. I'm basically an independent consultant, agile consultant, and Scaled Agile program consultant with 18 years of experience in software development, testing, and agile coaching. So I've also done my multiple certifications like CSM, CSP1. I applied for CSP, and I'm also a SAFe program consultant. So in my agile journey, I was part of Intel Security till the end of last year. And for over 10 years I was in Intel Security, and I did half of that experience. I was an agile coach, so I was a key member in agile transformation team, and then we transformed pretty much the whole Intel Security into agile and Scaled Agile. So I personally was involved in two big programs where SAFe was required, and we did a successful transformation after a year or so. So we moved around, in each of these teams we moved around 150 people. So so that was a good success story that two big success stories we have. So that's a quick introduction about myself, and let's move on to the SAFe Agilist training. So if you have any questions in between, please you will see on the right panel, you will see there is a text box. Please type down and then submit it, so that at the end of this session we can take up all the questions. So what is SAFe Agilist training? It's basically SAFe has come up with multiple training programs to enable people to do agile at a scale, a large scale enterprise. So for a team of 100 to 200 people together releasing one product, agile alone or a scrum alone will not be helpful to just transform, because there are a lot of interdependencies across the teams. There are a lot of risks that need to be mitigated at the program level. The portfolio need to be considered. Like portfolios, like the top management drives the whole portfolio need to be relooked at. So at the just doing at a team level agile may not give us a good success. So the SAFe helps us, SAFe helps us to implement agile in a scaled agile framework, in a scaled format, where all the teams, individual teams, actually are Scrum teams, but just that they have a better framework to connect to each other and do a better end-to-end testing kind of environment, right? So so this also validates Lean thinking. It came from the SAFe, came also from a Lean, and so the Lean came from basically from manufacturing industry, and we've just pulled out the SAFe framework has pulled some good principles from Lean, and then integrated with the product development flow principle, and then gave us a good package of implementing agile in a scaled format. So and SAFe Agilist is one of the trainings. So this is primarily for if you see, it is primarily for executives, managers, and agile change agents. Agile change agents can be Scrum masters, can be some leaders in the organization, can be leads, who are part of this journey and who want to make this whole journey happen, right? So that then what is the course objective? Course objective is basically split into 5 parts. The first one is it helps us learn about, how to apply Lean principle itself. Lean itself is a very beautiful concept that came from manufacturing industry, that came from Toyota system, and there are some very good, principles of Lean has been picked and has been kind of injected in the SAFe model. And so this helps us learn how to apply Lean principle, and it also helps us learn a product development flow. This is basically an engineering, and the product development flow principles. It has nothing to really do with any of the methodologies. There are some good principles that that need to be integrated into your product, injected into your product development, so that product development goes, actually improves the productivity, increases employee engagement, and it helps you release faster and helps you release with a good quality. So this reminds me, the Agile is all about releasing, time to the, going, to market on time and going frequently. So when you do a scaling, the complexity actually increases to the power of n, because the moment we think there are 15 teams together or 10 teams together going to release this product, each team has its own complexity in it, its own risk, its own dependencies, and so on. And even the dynamism of the team is going to be, one team is going to be completely different from the other team. So the SAFe helps in actually releasing a product, on time with a good quality, and internally it also improves the productivity and and brings in a lot of integration into the integration points into the system, so there are no big failures that is kind of pushed to a later point. So that's what you learn, first point. And second is it kind of helps us understand from the lecture, from the real world examples. Like in the training, I'll be sharing a lot of examples that I have gone through, and some of the other experience that we had at Intel, and as well as I learned from SAFe program, right? I'll be sharing so that we can actually get a actual true real examples, how do we deal with those problems. So it's not going to be just a theory class, right? So understanding the skills necessary for an enterprise transformation based on the information and examples presented is going to be the next one. And the fourth one is basically gain the insights into leadership skill, right? Especially unlocking the intrinsic motivation of the software development knowledge workers. So this is one of the very key points that we will discuss in detail in the 2-day program. And there are a few case studies that we will take. There are a few topics that we will do some hands-on exercise where all those points will be highlighted, right? And on a light note, it's also catered with good food and good breaks, so like any other training. Okay, so what do we learn in these 2 days? It's a SAFe Agilist is for a 2-day program. So what do we learn in these 2 days, right? So if you have not looked at Scaled Agile Framework, this is what is a Scaled Agile Framework. And if you look at the bottommost of the bottom left bottom, you will see version 3.0. So that's the latest version of SAFe Framework. The good part with the SAFe Framework is every year at least they make some good improvements, and then they come up with a newer version. Right. When I started SAFe, like in 4 years back, that was pretty much different from what I'm seeing today. So all the learnings have been injected back into the system, and then even the SAFe itself is a kind of agile journey. They go through agile journey, so they keep changing their own framework. So this is basically divided into 3 different layers. The first one is a portfolio. The portfolio is at a top level, top management level. Vision and at a strategic themes come into picture, which is basically a long-term vision. And the second layer is about the program, and the third layer is about the team, right? So let me just go from the bottom now. The team is nothing but your agile team. If you are already into agile execution, if you have a Scrum team, so there is absolutely no much difference between your agile team and this bottom layer, right? The bottom team has see every box that you see here, each one is a team here, right? So, and there are a few other things that you'll also learn is about code quality and Scrum Master and product owners and all that. So one level above is a program where all these teams, right? There can be like 10 or 15 teams working together to release one product. So all these teams can work together and actually release one big feature, right? Or one good change in the architecture. So this will be released to customers as a program increment on a frequent duration, like 2 months or 3 months. And this is called a program layer. At a program layer, there are a few other things kind of taken care. That we'll discuss in detail about what is a program layer, how is it going to help, what is the problem only with having a team structure, and what if you have few other things like a system team and and there is a cadence-based release, like release on demand. How is it going to help us? Okay. And the third layer is about the portfolio, where the top management comes in, where it's fundamentally 6 months to 1 year release with business epic and architectural epics, which is really large epics. If you're aware of the term epic, so these epics are really large epics. Right? Each epic can go to like 6 months to 1 year of execution. So this is how the whole the SAFe framework is being divided. So let's go a little more in detail. Right? The portfolio layer, we will cover something about the portfolio management itself. How do we do program portfolio management? How are the strategic themes defined? And who are the epic owners and so on. And the most important thing is the value streams. So these value streams normally, right, one of the very, very painful things in software development is not handling a value stream effectively. Value stream is fundamentally connecting from it's basically concept to cash, right? The concept is defined by a product manager, and then it comes into business analysis, and then it comes to engineering. Engineering has again multiple layers like design, development, testing, and then and whatnot, right? You have at least 5 to 6 layers within engineering itself. So every layer is actually contributing to this value stream, and each layer and integration between the layers can actually cause a lot more delay in overall release. So the value stream is beautifully handled in a portfolio layer. How do we have end-to-end value stream? And in this 2-day program, we will also learn as to how do we make this whole value stream very efficient, right? And just by doing that, just by reducing the value stream or fine-tuning the value stream, we will see at least 20 to 30% improvement immediately on the whole product development. Okay. Let me slowly move on to just next layer, and the value stream can have multiple release trains. So the concept of release train is actually very, very beautiful concept in SAFe, where there is a release train and it comes periodically, and whatever is ready will go with that release train that will get released. So that's called a program increment. So it's basically release on demand. So we keep building a system, and whenever release train comes, we decide that every third month there is a release train, and that end of the third month, whatever is ready across all these 10-15 teams can actually go out to market, right? So which is the most difficult thing in today's software development industry, that we're not able to predict our own release dates. And especially when it comes to multiple teams, like 10 or 15 teams working together on on the same product, it's even more difficult. The complexity gets increased to multiple levels, right? So the Agile release train concept actually is a very good concept which integrates all these teams and all different other players, like for example DevOps and user experience team and system architect and all that. Together with these teams, how do we release a product frequently? And let me share one of my experiences where we were releasing one of our large product suites once in 1.5 years, and we could bring it down to once in 3 months, right? Which was a huge achievement for the management, because we never even imagined that it can be reduced to so small. So whatever was ready at the end of every 3 months, we were releasing it. So that kind of increased a lot of opportunity cost. You don't have feature ready and waiting for the next set of features to complete for the next 1 year. Whatever is ready goes out, right? So that's a beauty of this Agile release train. And At a program layer, there are a few other item things put in place. For example, the system team. System team is responsible for the end-to-end system, wherein these individual teams at the team layer, you see that they are responsible for their own scope. So the problem with these individual teams is they don't see an overall picture, the global picture. The system team takes care of that. Right? So it takes care of the end-to-end system, it takes care of non-functional requirements, and it takes care of the integration points and so on. So end of every sprint, actually system team comes in and then they do the integration and they do whatever work required to be done. Be testing, be it integration and so on. So, and the product increment that we discussed about. There is one more concept called architectural runway. You see a red line here, it just goes up and down. So this is called architectural runway. Architectural runway is also nicely inserted in the whole business value generation backlog. So the product backlog does not just contain only the product items, but it also contains architectural features. So the SAFe also takes care of improving the overall architecture, improving the technical focus areas like reducing the technical debts, or improving some of the software development practices and so on. All that comes under this, right? So in program layer takes care of these things which otherwise are basically missed out at a team level. So coming to a team is pretty much the same. Like if you are used to Agile or Scrum, so it's like each team is an Agile or Scrum, cross-functional Scrum team, and that has responsibility, that has roles like product owner, Scrum Master, and Agile team, basically the development team. And it also focuses on code quality. Like at a team level, there is a lot of focus on code quality, like CI, the test first method, or test-driven development, or agile architecture, or so on. So this is called. So if you see SAFe is called SAFe Scrum XP. SAFe just does not promote only Scrum. SAFe equally promotes extreme programming practices. So that's where this come in. Where without extreme programming, some of the extreme programming practices, we won't be able to release a world-class quality product. So that's why XP is also kind of brought in this layer. So that's a very high level. In the 2-day class, probably each layer will cover probably for a couple of hours, at least 2-3 hours, taking about each of these points. If you have not gone to this website, please go have a look at this website called ScaledAgileFramework.com. That the homepage of that website is this screen, and this has over 5,000 links. Right, every image in this first screen actually has a link, and you can actually read a good material about each of those links. And it further has a few more links, and so a lot of good material to read about. Right, so we will cover in detail about each of these layers during this today session. So how is it going to? How does our today's schedule look? So day 1 is going to be like an introduction to SAFe. Like we just introduced about SAFe, and then history of SAFe, and just all the fundamental core values, and then we'll move on to the house of Lean. Basically, what is the house of Lean? What are the 3 pillars? And what is the base, and what is the roof of Lean? And we go a little more deep detail on Lean principles, and then move on to 12 principles of product development flow. Right? There is a very good book called Flow, Product Development Flow, and these 12 principles we'll talk about it. And these principles are completely different from what we have learned from Scrum. Scrum principles are different from these. Right? Scrum also has 12 principles. That comes in the next point. And Agile, we'll also touch upon Agile Manifesto principle, Agile 12 principles. For those who have not experienced or not done Scrum, if at all you have not done much. But again, we again want to just make sure that these 12 principles and Agile Manifesto, 4 Agile Manifesto items are actually very well aligned in SAFe. So that's primary reason for adding this in day 1. And then we'll move on to Agile Release Train. That's at the program layer. We'll talk a lot about Agile Release Train, and then in that same Agile Release Train, we will continue on day 2 too. I think we'll go at least for the first 1 or 2 hours. We'll continue to talk about Agile Release Train. Then we'll move on to the top layer, which is a portfolio management. Right, and then we'll talk about how to define a vision, how to define a roadmap, how to look at economic portfolio prioritization at a portfolio level. This is for real executives. And then we'll also talk about how to do release planning at a scale, a scaled level, at a very large scale enterprise layer. How do we do a release planning consisting of all these 150 or 200 people in each release train? So we can actually have parallelly running release trains, and each release train consists of 150 people. So you can actually have 5 or 6 release trains running in parallel in one SAFe execution. So you can imagine that maybe 1,000 people running together releasing one large product, like for example banking system, right, or SAP kind of a system. And how do we do release plan for such large system? So we will cover about that too for good maybe 2 hours at least on the release plan. Then we will cover about what is architectural runway from the technical side. How do we make sure that architecture is also taken care and it has got a good long-term vision on the architecture side. Then we'll come into how do we execute a program increment under the program, and then what does it mean for us in a sprint in a 2-week sprint? How do we integrate all these and release at the end of the sprint, right? So this is the overall schedule for 2 days, right? So who should attend this training? Who can get value out of this session? Executives, definitely. Those who want to really move the organization to a SAFe model, executives can attend, and managers, right? Anybody who's playing that role of managing a large team can take that. And agile change agents. So when I say agile change agents, can be they can be agile coaches, they can be scrum masters, they can be somebody who's a change agent in the team, and who's making a difference in the organization, right, in terms of agile practices, right, who can be part of this. And those who are responsible for leading a lean or agile change initiative in large software companies, right? These are the people who can attend. And the prerequisites are basically 5+ years of experience in software development, testing, in any of this, right? 5 years of experience, and have a little bit of experience in Scrum at least, right? So that the expectation is that people know the basic Scrum concepts clear when they come for this training. We won't go in detail about, for example, definition of done, right? We may not go in detail about such concepts, which is already in Scrum. We may touch upon some of those, and then we start moving on to the program and the portfolio layer, right? So this is a prerequisite. So I'm pretty much done with my my talk. So hey folks, looks like there's one question which has come. I'm just trying to get that question. Just give me a minute. Okay, so somebody has asked me this question. Okay, you talked about agile release. I think Rajiv has asked this question. You talked about agile release train, which is a quarterly. If the individual Scrum team is delivering every 2-week cycle, which is production ready, would they have to wait for the quarter release train? If yes, wouldn't it be the overall agile principle? I fully agree. If the team is able to do, agile is all about common sense, and if the team is able to fully develop in 2 weeks time, which it's nothing like it. The only challenge is, let's just put ourselves in this context where there are 10 or 15 teams, and each team is a true Scrum team, a bunch of people working together and releasing some value, delivering some value to the product. At some point, it has to be integrated, right? So end of every 2 weeks is a time frame where you get integration time, where a system team can look at and then integrate, and if that is ready, as early as possible it can be released, right? There's nothing which really stops from releasing earlier, but what I have seen is in majority of the cases where the integration actually creates a lot more problems, right? The moment we have 10 or 15 teams working together, there is a lot more dependency amongst the teams, and there are dependencies outside of these 15 teams, right? And where somebody else has to deliver some value to to these teams for the Scrum teams to deliver further value. So so those are the challenges. If your team can deliver, another fundamental rule in a SAFe is that if the number of teams are less than 5, I think it's better probably look at just Agile as an option, not SAFe. So SAFe is for enterprise where there is a lot more complexity, where there's a lot more difficulties and complexities being dealt. So I'm not seeing a case where that every 2 weeks all 15 teams are ready to release. Right? And if it is possible, definitely it's nothing like it. Okay, so okay, cool. So I see another question which says the Lean is basically used for production only, or are there any other fields can come under Lean transformation? Right? So very good question. So Lean actually came from production, right? So if you go back and look at our whole Lean journey, basically it came from Toyota, where Lean is all about just eliminating waste and then kind of being a just-in-time production kind of environment where those days in manufacturing they had a lot of wastage when they manufactured, and the quality was really bad. That's where they got into this Lean production, where their focus was primarily on eliminating waste, right? So, and they had taken the right steps to improve the quality and produce products that can go out with a high quality. So that exactly came from Lean. The Lean came from production, manufacturing, but the concepts are very common, right? We do a lot of wastage, right? And if you look at software industry, there is so much of wastage. Every defect which is a wastage, right? Why should if you look at the defects, the black box defects, we have a bunch of testers in the organization. Their full-time, day in day out job is to find the defects and then log into the system and to track it. How much of wastage is like, first of all, testing it is a wastage, and finding defects, and then giving to developers analyzing it and then fixing it, and then coming back to the testers and again retesting it. So there's a lot of wastage. Like that, there are few other wastages that we do where like technical debts, right? We keep it for future, and that becomes a lot more expensive. So Lean is definitely a principle. Few principles of Lean definitely can be taken. The Lean thinking is definitely very powerful thinking, and that is possible in software industry, right? Which can help us in improving a much better quality at a predictable time. So it is from production, but it can be used in software for sure. So that's my quick answer. I think we will cover a lot of detail in the training about these concepts. So the next question is about, can anyone access SAFe? Yes, of course, definitely. If you just go to this website, scaledagileframework.com, it is just one word, scaledagileframework.com. That will give you access to the entire 5,000 links. Everyone can access, right? And by doing this course, you also get additional material on, there are some toolkits given for SAFe Agilists to execute SAFe in a much better way, right? And in a lot more planned way. So that's an additional stuff you get by doing this course. So there's still a good discussion is going on. Kanban is also for production. Yes, Lean and Kanban is also right. That is also, it's one of the Lean principles. Right? Kanban came from production. So Kanban came from manufacturing. So there's no big difference. Kanban is about limiting your work in progress, and these principles primarily are used in portfolio management. Kanban is primarily used in portfolio management, where we don't want to have too many items coming in from management as a vision or a roadmap. So the Kanban actually restricts the management to be aligned for at least 6 months and give a clarity to the management. So expectation is that management should have a clarity for the next 6 to 9 months, and no big change happens in the middle. Right? So the Kanban is actually, if you look at, let me go back to the picture. This will tell us just give me a minute. Yeah, here if you look at it, Kanban is here in a portfolio layer, where the requirement, the strategic teams actually is funneled. Strategic and the architectural teams are funneled through these two backlogs, and the Kanban system is what helps us actually come up with a good portfolio backlog. Right? Kanban comes here, not at the bottom layers. Okay? It's primarily to make sure that the management has a clarity for the next 6 to 9 months or so. Hope that answers your question. I don't know if there are any more questions. Cool. Looks like all the questions are covered. There are no other questions. If you still want to talk, if you have any further questions on this whole concept, the SAFe concept, you can still ping me. You can mail me to jprakash.prabhakar. Let me just write down that so that you can see my email address. You can actually ping me. So we have a training happening in the next 4 days. So anything regarding the training or concepts on this, you feel free to mail me so that I can definitely respond to you back. This is my email address. jprakash.prabhakar@gmail.com. So we have no questions further. Thank you so much for joining this session, and I hope to see you in the training session end of this week. Thank you so much.